Okay, so for my 30th birthday, the only thing I wanted was to go to this place called the Stanley Hotel in Colorado. It is notorious, you might have heard of it. It is what the movie The Shining is based off of, and it is notoriously haunted. Okay, so naturally throughout my time there, I had my notes app out and I took a bunch of notes about what I experienced. And then I came home and I wrote them in my book. So let's kind of go through it. I do want to say the first time that as soon as I stepped out of my car, we weren't even inside. I kept having this sensation on my left side. My left ear kept ringing, like constantly. It was very interesting, and it felt like somebody was whispering in it. Somebody was almost tickling it at one point. Very interesting. And I kept hearing a man say the name Marie, like he was calling out to a woman. It felt like he had lost her, and he felt just like desperate for this Marie. I also, at this point, we were still outside. I kept hearing horses neigh, and I kept seeing horses like walk in front of me. Now, this didn't feel like I was connecting to a spirit. It felt like I was connecting with like a spiritual memory of a place, like an imprint. And it almost like took me back in time for a moment, though I knew that I was very much still in my time. Okay, so saw places memories. There's also a very deep native connection, which I didn't think about before going, but obviously it makes sense. It's Colorado. And so I kept hearing, like, I kept seeing images of horses and native tribes and native souls saying I told them no. So I don't know what exactly that means. If there was an energy that this was built on, maybe that's why it's so notorious. But I kept saying I told them no. So once we were inside, we went to dinner in like part of the hotel. It's really beautiful. It's got this very old bar. And in order to go to the bathroom, you have to walk out and down the stairs, where I will put a video up because it was very interesting. It had like this old vault and an old storefront. So it was like a museum as well down there. And I kept hearing again in my left ear, this man say, "Come here, sweet thing," which I didn't care for. He definitely, this spirit stepped forward the most intensely. He definitely felt like an older man, like he might have been, the way he looked at women was very outdated naturally. He was not from this time period. And that he kind of had this creepy feel. And he definitely came over the strongest. I kind of had to put a boundary up with him because I wasn't about it. Okay, so when I came back upstairs and was by the bar, I kept seeing there was a young woman and an older woman that were also very prevalent. And the young woman was sitting at the bar with her legs crossed. And the only thing I remember really seeing is her legs were dangling, so they didn't touch the ground. And she seemed very excited to be there, like she knew that she shouldn't. I don't know if she was affiliated with the place, like with maybe one of her family members. Maybe they came a lot, because it felt like she was very comfortable in this space, very comfortable in this place. There was a sense of entitlement, not in a bad way, but that she wouldn't necessarily be allowed to sit at the bar. So she was very excited and like was very interested in what all the adults were doing, but her legs kept swinging, which she kept showing me. So showed me that she was very young. Okay, so then when you left the hotel, right where you would go down the stairs, in between the bathroom stairs and the front door, there was the foyer which had a lot of energy, part of the oldest place. And when I was in that little area in between, my arms kept shaking. So I kept having to like almost like a tremor. So I kept having to put them by my sides, which was very, very interesting. I also, when I was near the bathroom, a lot of times I kept seeing a man's bloodshot eyes. And I'm not entirely sure. It reminded me of somebody with a drinking problem or a drug problem. And at the same time, I kept feeling this pressure and this tingling in the back top of my head. It felt like maybe I'd taken a fall. It was like that kind of vibrating after you've really rocked your head. And I don't know why he kept pointing like aggressively and showing me these red eyes, bloodshot eyes. And I don't exactly know if I was interpreting that, but gut feeling, it just felt like there was a lot of alcohol, drinking problem, and like his body was decaying because of it. I could be wrong. That was just kind of my gut feeling. There was also there's like a gift shop right in that similar area. Everything was in a similar area. And there was an older woman in a fancy coat. She felt like she had owned this place at one point or had been very highly affiliated with it, because there was so much pride. And she would just kind of like almost like walk around very like slow and daintily, very confident era of her. And she had on this long coat that is like she wanted people to see how nice it was, how expensive it was. And so she was watching over everybody, specifically in the shop. And at one point when I had walked past her, because she was directly positioned herself in the mirror in the middle, I felt somebody, I was wearing a backpack, kind of grab my backpack back for a moment. And it was like a split second, but I literally, my body went back a little bit and then I kind of just kept walking, which was very interesting. I don't know if she didn't want me in there, if she didn't think I was dressed appropriately. That's very possible. But again, it was a split second. Right when you left there and turned left, there is a billiards room, which I was happen to be with a few people, mostly women and one man. And the person, one of the women that I was with, her family is from where this hotel is, which I'm so grateful for because she got to kind of tell me certain things. Shout out Cody. So in the billiards room, there was this man in almost looking like a really beautiful, very fancy long black jacket, coat, like a dress coat, and fancy gloves. And he kept kind of holding his hand up when we were approaching the room and saying like, no, no, which is very interesting because we were mostly women. And I was told by my friend that that room was for men and the one next to it was for women. So women weren't allowed in the billiards room, which makes sense why he was like, no, no, you don't come in. What are you doing here? So that was what came forward when I stepped into this energy, into this place. I definitely want to go back because it lived up to the hype. It was high-key very, very haunted, and not in a bad way. There was no like real negativity. It was just a lot of residual energy and memories and soul, spirit memories and stuff. So yeah, very interesting, 10 out of 10.